the kind of the overall of what we're supposed to do tonight and how we're going to conduct the meeting. But I want to share with you a passage that is very important to me right now in this season. And it comes from Romans. What then are we to say about these things? If God is for us, who is against us? He who did not withhold his own son, but gave him up for us all, will he not with him also give us everything else? Who will separate us from the love of Christ? Will hardship or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? As it is written, for your sake, we're being killed all day long. We are counted as sheep to be slaughtered. This is a pull from another scripture before as it was talking about the martyrs. No, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus our Lord. It's a good reminder that there's nothing that can separate us, especially when we feel physically separated from each other. And I'm going to continue to let people in here. Come on. Okay. 2 people waiting. Just a second here while I was reading people.
Too many people bombing Zoom meetings.
Okay.
Another logistical point for those of you coming in, Terry and I tend to assume that everybody spends their days on Zoom, but that's not actually the case. So there's a chat going on to the side. If you don't see that on the side of your screen, if you just go to the bottom, you'll see a little text bubble with the word chat. And if you click that, then you can see Sean's comments to the right of your pictures.
And pay no attention to him when he said, we don't love you. Okay, that was good. Oh, okay. So hope everyone can hear okay. And again, if you have a question, go ahead and do that privately to Sean and he can get me the question. But one of the questions that we had that came in was, what will Christmas look like this year? And of course, Christmas will look a little bit differently. It will be online, but we have tried our very best to try and bring as much of what you would normally see in a Christmas season to you online. And so that is what our worship team meetings have been about, really, about how do we bring to our community as much as what they would normally see. And so we will launch a 3:00 service that is for children. Katrina just recorded the children's message of that service out at a barn with, I think, a little cow and some sheep and things like that for the kids. And then as much as possible, children were going to present in that worship service. And so we're looking forward to seeing that creativity and all the kids on screen. And then 5:00 will be a modern worship experience, Christmas Eve, that we will have online. And Tim will be preaching that one. And then 8:00, hold on just a second. This is challenging to admit and talk at the same time. It's like walking and chewing gum. Okay, so 8:00 will be a traditional, and with the strings and music, and I'll be preaching that service as well. And so we're trying to bring in as much as we possibly can that you would normally experience in a Christmas Eve service. And Advent is going to be both a live stream on Wednesday nights, our midweek service. We're going to live stream that from the sanctuary where the Christmas decorations are and things like that. We also have some Christmas decorations up at the Connection. as well. And so we just filmed at the Connection this last weekend for worship. And I know that I got a lot of great responses. It was great to see the Connection. We want to do that more often. And then we'll pre-record for the weekends. We'll pre-record those services so that we can get you a more dynamic worship experience. If we were to live stream on the weekends as well, we would be very limited in what we could do musically for you all. And so, so we wanted to make sure that we could go ahead and present to you what you have more of experience of having in worship. We were just really wanting to make sure that we could continue what we have been doing in worship. And 11:45 will be a countdown. We're going to just read the Christmas story, where we will have maybe a short word and then sing Silent Night online. So we're going to try to do all of that for you on Christmas Eve. And then as well, for the Christmas season, in your newsletter, you should have gotten this bright colored piece of paper. Take it out, print it, put it on your refrigerator. These are all the online and in-person events that we're going to have. Now, with COVID, it kind of changed up some restrictions for us, but I think what we've got planned is still okay. So online, you can see all on one side, November 29th through the 27th, online worship, like I had said. December 4th at 7 p.m., there'll be a Christmas kickoff concert on Facebook Live. On December 11th at 7:30, we'll have holiday surprises, Facebook Live and YouTube. And that is going to have some more traditional aspects, the Salem Chamber Orchestra, some music from the chorale, that kind of thing. Then December 21st at 7 p.m. is the longest night service. And again, that will be on Facebook Live. And then in person, the day after, the Friday after Thanksgiving, November 27th, we're going to light up the Mid-County. There is a lit tree that's going to be put at the flagpole, and then we had some lights that are going to be, and there's going to be some music in cars. We'll do the in-car kind of thing. And Deb, you have some other, you want to share a little bit more about that evening?
Yeah, a couple of fun things. The lights will be there. We've got some big trees coming in. We don't normally do a big outdoor decoration, but since everybody couldn't be in and we thought the community needed some hope and joy, we've got what should be a nice light display that was funded by specific gifts, so it didn't come out of anybody's general ministry offerings. If you don't know you helped pay for it, then none of your dollars went to pay for it. But I think it's going to be really beautiful. Also, as we finished up the renovations, we had an opportunity to really restore the original bells and carillons up in the steeple. So the Christmas music will be played on the bells in the steeple. So you can pull up in your cars, roll your windows down. The Christmas music is going to come out of those original bells in the steeple. And I think it's going to be really beautiful. We'll also have Advent at Home kits that we'll hand out to everybody. So all through the month, there'll be things that happen in worship that tie in with some of the special treats that are going to be in those bags. There are packages for kids, but they're for grown-ups too, because we wanted Christmas to be fun for everybody. So I don't want to tell you what they are, but they're going to be cool. So come in, and if you can't be there, then you can just let us know and we'll set one in the back lobby for people to pick up as well. But it'll be fun. Just short, no big gatherings, but a chance to see the lights, hear some music, and pick up those at home kits.
And then on December the 20th, we'll have a Starlight Walk outdoors for in-person for the Mid-County. And December 10th, we're going to have a socially distanced Christmas caroling at the South City site. So we're trying to make sure when this comes to you, make sure you just print that colored piece out that has the online and in person and place that on your refrigerator or wherever, and you can see all the things that we're going to be doing during the Advent season. We also have a couple of special guests that are going to pop up. I don't know if everyone saw this last weekend that Wynton Marsalis popped into our worship experience, right? We have a partnership now with WWT and their Family and Friends Prayer Call. And so David usually has a guest artist on those prayer calls that happen every other week. All of us are welcome to join those prayer calls every other Wednesday. If you want to, we will get you the link. All you have to do is send us a message that you would like those links, and we'll try to get those links out to you for the midweek. That's on Wednesdays as well, at noon, but it's every other week. And his guest artists are recorded prior, and then they're played in the webinar. And so we have asked if there's a guest artist, could we use their recording? And they have said yes. For those who give the permission to do that, we can do that. So Wynton said, of course we can do, yeah, of course you can do that. And so it was great to see Wynton on the worship experience. Nick has contacted Kennedy Holmes, I believe. And Nick's on here and he's shaking his head. So we're going to have some people who will pop into our worship experience, and we'll do those pre-recordings so that we can do that safely. And then I think, Deb, am I forgetting anything on how we're going to worship together in this season?
Okay. No, I think you hit the highlights, and there was a real commitment to do all 4 of those Christmas Eve services so that people could see what they were familiar with. But I'll also say throughout the Advent season, I think you're going to see some really beautiful music. The team of people working on music, Nick's on here, I'll give him a lot of credit. Anybody connected to traditional music is actually in the building recording right now. That just a lot of work has gone into making the entire season special, and I think you're going to really enjoy it.
So that's that question. The next question, there's 2 questions. Well, there's actually 3 more questions that were asked ahead of time, and one of which I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to let Sean speak to this. This is how we've been doing good. We've been kind of really going by our 3 rules through this pandemic: do no harm, do good, and stay in love with Jesus Christ. And so speaking to the do no harm, we're going to talk about the COVID season and all the things that are going on with that in a little bit, but I'm going to ask Sean to talk to us about how we've been doing good.
Everybody, did you mute?
We'll let Deb do it. We'll let Deb do that. Deb, do that. Whoa.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to turn off a second microphone there.
Yeah, I turned.
You have it on your phone too?
Okay, we'll let
maybe
Deb.
want to. Well, they have
Sean's phone.
In hopes of getting Sean back in, I'll go to a related question, maybe that I know also came in advance, which was, how are things going financially? And things can't be what they normally are. And I think that I've gotten that question a few times, and it seems to normally come from a place of concern. So I am happy to tell you that we have good news. We are good. There are a segment of churches nationwide. I can spin off on this for hours if anybody's interested. I won't do that right now, but there are a segment of churches that for a variety of reasons are really thriving, and we are one of them. Just to give you a few highlights of numbers, these are numbers we ran today. Overall congregational giving, so that's giving that you would think of as being normally in the plate on Sunday morning or checks that people mail in the mail. We are up by 19.43% over last year. That's a fantastic number. Some related numbers that I think say a lot about us as a congregation and about all of our givers. Giving designated specifically to Epworth is up 2,650% this year. That's not a typo. 2,650% increase in giving to Epworth, 307% increase in giving to LifeWise, 236% increase in giving to designated mission projects, most of which are hunger and outreach for us, and 100% increase in giving to hunger and literacy specific. And so there's just been a consistent honoring of pledges that were made the previous year and increased giving in the area of special mission, especially as it relates to hunger. And that's why I'm hoping we can get Sean back on. But the numbers of meals that we have been able to serve is just phenomenal. We did receive a PPP loan early on. Salem was one of the first nonprofits in this region that was funded. We've also already been fully forgiven. We were one of the first nonprofits to be fully forgiven. That money did two things for us that were really important. The biggest one that a lot of people don't immediately think of is that it allowed us to refund the remaining months of preschool tuition to families. That tuition largely is prepaid and was already in our bank account. So we gave back all of that money and we fully paid the preschool staff, all of them on every level, all the way through the end of the year, even though they couldn't work. We were able to do that. That's where the PPP money went. And it covered all of that for us and allowed us to get to the end of that preschool year without suffering a big loss. And so that was a huge balancing factor for us financially. It also really softened about 8 weeks of staff salaries towards the beginning of the pandemic. While we got shifted over to online giving, we did have a rough patch at the beginning because we just weren't set up for people to do their giving primarily online. You know, now when it says text to here and click on this, that wasn't really in place. We had, like many churches over the years, as technology moved, we would add pieces onto our structure. But when the pandemic hit, back of house, we actually dismantled all of that and rebuilt it with an integrated software system for online giving. So it's just made ongoing recurring giving online much more effective for us. We've had a really solid fourth quarter. We had a solid first quarter before the pandemic, and that helped. We had no snow days this year. And so that was there was a glimmer of goodness in 2020 and that there were no snow days. So we started out strong. I will note, people ask, what does it look like going forward? Faith-based nonprofits, churches in particular, typically receive a huge amount of their giving in December. In 2019, 29% of our giving for the year came in December. I don't expect that to happen this year. I think part of the strength of our giving thus far have been families that called, some of whom typically give at the end of the year and said, hey, would it be helpful if I gave early? And in a lot of cases, they've done that, and it has in fact been helpful. So I think we're going to see a more even giving spread. I don't think we're going to see the big spike in December that we sometimes see, but ironically, we didn't see the slump in summer that we would normally see either. So I think it's a really beautiful shift in the giving pattern. So we're going to remain conservative about spending going into 2021. We've obviously loosened up for Christmas. We budgeted for that all along as we adjusted the budget. We knew we would pick up some of these expenses again at Christmas, and I think it's going to be beautiful. Overall program related income is down about 40%. Those are things like weddings and summer camps and big special events like worship in the park, but we were able to curb spending at a pace equal to that. So the news is good, and I credit all of you with that. It's because people have been consistent and generous in their giving to the church and also in their extra giving to mission projects. And if you as a giver have a particular passion that you want to talk about or have questions about how best to give from a tax or financial planning perspective, I am always happy to talk to your tax people, talk to your estate planners. There is no shame in giving your money in the way that gets the most done in the world, and I'm happy to work with your teams to make that happen. So I'll see if Sean can jump in and talk about how some of that money's been spent on mission, and if not, I can give you a few examples also.
He's going to come over here and just get on my Zoom in just a second. But one of the things that Deb didn't mention that I think is important, the conference at the very beginning of the pandemic said that we did not have to pay apportionments. That helped us kind of make it in that tough stretch as Deb said. We have paid our portion because we did have someone who came forward and said, oh, we want to make sure our apportionments are paid, and they were very generous in that. So that has been some of the way that we have kind of been a little bit easier, I think, in our spending and our budget. We were able to spend some on technology and things like that that we needed to do for recordings and being worshiping online. So it is because of you all and the generosity, as Deb said, of our people, and why we're doing so well. So I'm going to let Sean come over here and talk about the mission aspect, and I'm going to put my mask on and get away from him.
All right, now we got it working now. Hopefully you guys joined us for worship on Sunday. And if you did, you would have seen we had a video in there that kind of highlighted all the stuff we've been able to do since the pandemic started. The numbers are incredible, honestly. See how difficult you have it, Terri. The numbers are amazing. And just to what Terri said, it's a testament to our commitment to remaining in the community. It would be easy not to. It would be easy to hold on to what we have. It would be easy to just keep the status quo and kind of just live a life of holding on to what we got and making sure we're good for 2021. But it's when we realize that other people still need help. In fact, they probably need help more than they do. And what you're seeing, and that is Epworth they've started a food pantry up in North County, and they've virtually doubled their distribution. Haven Street, we've nearly doubled at Haven Street in terms of how many meals we're handing out since we started, not even before the pandemic, since we started the pandemic. Okay. Life-wise, the numbers are just mind-boggling how many people that they were distributing for. For us, the numbers for Haven Street come out to over 5,000 meals since we started in March. Epworth, over 3,000 meals since we started in March, over $5,000 collected just of non-perishables, not even just finances coming in, but just sort of an estimate of how much has come through for non-perishables. This summer, we were able to provide food for kids through Freedom Schools. They normally would have a Freedom School program that helps them sort of cross the bridge over the summer and make sure that they're not falling behind in school, and that sort of dissipated, but we were going to make sure that those meals were not going to dissipate. And so that's over 7,000 meals that happened over the summer at the South City campus. We provided food and necessities for over 10,000 people at LifeWise STL through sponsorships. And 10,000 people at LifeWise is not, 10,000 individual meals. That's like a kit of as close to a week of essentials as possible that they cram in at LifeWise. The Holy Smokers have just caught on board and just full bore ahead. It's been incredible to see. That's over 15,000 meals served through their barbecue, which is incredible as well. And so again, that's what, sorry, I'm getting a message coming in. I want to make sure that I get to it. So yeah, through LifeWise. So we've supported 10,000 of their distributions. I think $20,000 worth of essentials going through LifeWise has come through us. I just had a message come into the chat. Deborah, you want to chime in? No? Okay, cool. So that gives you that information. And again, the reality of this is, y'all, is sometimes for a lot of people, this is only playing catch up because companies and organizations are holding on to what they have. But now we have more people in the restaurant industry who maybe are hurting now during the season because of what's coming down the pipeline to keep everybody safe. And that's the reality too. So the need is only going to continue to grow. We've decided, because of the amazing news that Deb has shared, on Christmas Eve, we're going to have a designated offering separate from, if you make an end of year gift, make your end of year gift. That's your regular end of year gift. But we're going to have a designated Christmas Eve offering that's going to go towards hunger and illiteracy in our outreach ministries. The way that that's going to work is not that we have a project that we're going to take all of that money and dump it into a lump sum for, say, LifeWise or whomever, but it comes into our outreach budget. So that way, when people say, hey, we have a need that's grown because of what's been going on, we can say yes more often. That's what we want to do there, is not, we know things are going to change quickly. And so it's really hard to say we want to take all of this money and put it into one project that may or may not have sustainability at this time or may not bear fruit at this time. And so what that is it ends up in our account, essentially, so that way when things pop up and LifeFly says, hey, we're in a pinch, can you help us? We can say yes. And so please consider to giving to that too. All that option will kind of come down the pipeline as we approach Christmas Eve as well, but please consider giving above and beyond. As Deb said, those percent increases are above and beyond. And so there's no reason why we can't, why we have to stop now. So you should be super proud. We're also continuing. I want to give a shout out to, because this information is growing and it's difficult, but we're working to pave ways to continue working in St. Louis public schools through tutoring and stuff like that, which, as you can imagine, is just so difficult with virtual learning and the schools trying to figure out what's going on, let alone having volunteers be able to be at play there. So we're in the process of figuring that out, but we really pivoted to just say we need to give people what they need and what they need now. And many people are choosing between, do I pay my power bill? Do I pay my mortgage? Do I pay my rent? Or do I pay for all my groceries? And so that's kind of where we're able to step in. And it's been beautiful to see. But again, we're not going to reach a point where the need goes away, but it's been amazing to see that every single time the need has grown, we've been able to step up and fill it. And we want to continue to do that. So thank you for making me look good, for making Salem look good, but most importantly, for giving hope in the name of the gospel for people who desperately need it right now. And if we've needed hope ever, it's this year. So thank you for making it possible. If we have any questions or comments on that, send me a comment and we'll get to them.
Okay. So I've got Dr. Tiffany Osborn on here, and she's going to share a screen with us. She's going to run through some of the reasons why we have decided to remain online. I had so hoped that we would be able to do some more in-person worship experiences on Sunday mornings, actually, during the Advent season. But our numbers in the community just skyrocketed lately, and Tiffany is going to kind of walk us through what that data is right now. So Tiffany, thanks for joining us.
Okay, let me put this on. Can you see that okay? Okay. So I'm looking forward to the next time that we talk, that I have all the good news about, implementations of vaccine and when we're going to be able to sort of celebrate and have a big block party. This is not that time, unfortunately. So to give you an idea of where we're at right now, so the state of Missouri, we have around 240,000 COVID cases in our state. This is since February. We've got around 3,300 deaths to date, unfortunately. In our St. Louis metropolitan area, so you can see that, and I'm just going to have to move the video thing there. You can see that this blue line is our rolling 7-day average. This is for the greater St. Louis metropolitan area. So St. Louis City and County. So you can see that our average was beginning to increase, the blue line. And we had a couple of days where we were around 1,200 new cases per day. This was the 2nd of November. This is within the last couple of days. So now our rolling average is around 2,000 new cases per day. And we're reaching close to 3,000 cases on multiple days at a time. Now, when you look at this from where we stand in general for cases, this was again on November the 2nd. The blue areas are, these light blue areas are the areas where we've got still cases, but lower amount. This is where we are now. You can see that we have very few of those low volume areas. The cases have been continuing to increase. Now, just because you have more cases doesn't mean you have more hospital admissions. So I wanted to show you, the green is the St. Louis metropolitan area. These are our 7-day rolling average admissions to hospitals across the county. And this is only COVID admissions. These are new COVID admissions. This does not take into account what it looks like with all the other admissions that the hospital gets. So these are on top of our typical admissions. What most of the hospitals look like is what BJC or BJH looks like right now, which is where I am. We have around 1,100 to 1,200 beds that are usable, typically 1,100 beds that we can use at a time. This is how many inpatients, this is what our census has been per day. So the hospitals across the county, we've been running between 90 and 95% capacity, 90 to 95% capacity. These are our projections. And this again, when we're talking about inpatient census for admissions, this is for hospitals across the greater St. Louis metropolitan area, but understand that this is COVID admissions only. This black line are the actual. You can see that the actual has pretty much been mirroring what the projected are. These have been the projected. And the differences are basically associated with what type of community safety measures that are put into place. This line right here is where we reach maximum capacity if we no longer are doing elective surgical procedures. We have already stopped doing elective surgical procedures in most hospitals throughout the county. This red line is where we reach capacity for without elective surgical procedures. And again, remember, this isn't showing you all hospital admissions, it's showing you hospital admissions for COVID alone. This just gives you an idea when we're looking at projections that there is a difference based on community measures that are put into place. So safety measures associated with masking or social distancing, these are projections based on that. And again, this is, we talked before about inpatient, this is intensive care units. This is where we are right now just for COVID intensive care unit beds. And this is where our maximum capacity is. Now you might be wondering, well, what areas is this actually a problem? Is it any one specific area? Pretty much every county has an increase in COVID patients right now. There is no one county that really has escaped this at this point. What I'm showing you here is the differences in age distribution. So around 10 to 15% are kids that are less than 17 years of age. The main point of this, so this is the blue is this, 0 to 17, this is 18 to 24. This pink area is 25 to 49, and this age 50 to 64, 65 to 74. The takeaway here is that among adults that are greater than or equal to 65 years of age, the numbers of COVID patients have doubled, or COVID cases has doubled since August to November. This gives, I get this question a lot about kids. People who ask me, do kids not get COVID? Kids do get COVID, and these are the trends as of August the 7th to date. So this doesn't include some of the earlier. And these are divided up by cases. So 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 13, 14 to 17, 18 to 21. So this is just to demonstrate that it hits older people harder, but it does not mean that younger people are immune. So where we are right now as a community, within the next 3 to 4 weeks, if something doesn't change, we can reach a position where we are no longer able to meet the clinical demands of our community. And what that means is that resources could become strained, meaning number of ventilators, number of dialysis machines, number of ICU beds, number of hospital beds. If something doesn't change in the next 3 to 4 weeks, that's where we could be. And I will have to say that in a time where things are challenging, the church has done great. So I say thank you.
Thanks, Tiffany, for sharing that. So we just, again, we really kind of leaned into those 3 rules in this pandemic, and that was do no harm, do good, and stay in love with Jesus. I would say that the biggest challenge we've had as a church is staying connected with each other. Not so much staying connected with God, I don't believe, because we're, I think, able to worship in ways that were different. We're reaching more people actually online, different people online, but staying connected with each other as a community. And so we've been doing a lot of note writing. We've been doing a lot of phone calls. We've had Zoom classes, doing everything online that we possibly can so that we can stay connected as a community of faith. And again, that is you all that are doing that work. And so thank you very much. So just one more question that was asked prior, and that was, where are we on the LGBTQ issue? When the pandemic hit, that really kind of got put on hold. Where are we in that? Well, it is on hold for the moment. Where we were prior to the pandemic was we were headed to a general conference where we thought the church would probably make a separation in grace somehow. How that would have looked, I'm not sure, because there were several proposals that were in front of General Conference. However, General Conference could not happen, and nothing can happen in policy, polity, how the church is structured, all of that without a General Conference. My pieces of paper. The date that is projected for the next annual conference is August 31st to September 10th. However, they are not sure that they're going to be able to hold it. Now, let me explain why. Visas have already started to expire for our people who are coming across to come to General Conference. Also, if they had it on a virtual format, someone would be up in the middle of the night because we are a world church. And so they're trying to figure these things out right now. And they do not have not given us any definite answers of whether or not General Conference is going to happen, but they are trying to figure that out, as well as jurisdictional conference. They are trying to figure out if at all they are going to elect new bishops right now. And so this has just all been kind of put on hold because of the pandemic and because of the world aspect of our church. And so as soon as I know what is going to happen in the future with regards to that, I will let our church know. We do have a Pathways meeting actually this coming Friday, which is the Missouri team, which I'm on, that has this discussion of how we want to move forward as a Missouri annual conference. And so we have not had a meeting since the pandemic hit. And so I might know a little bit more about, I don't know if I will or not, but if General Conference is exploring something that I have not heard yet. So anyway, I just want to let you know what I know in that. That is really all that we had for tonight, right, Deb? Is there anything else? Okay, that is all we really had for tonight. We wanted you to know some crucial things, why we made the decision to remain online, how we were working in the community around us, and the good work that Salem is doing. I cannot tell you how amazed and in awe I am of Salem's generosity in the ways that we're able to feed those who are hungry. I'm just thankful to God for all of you. And we wanted to be able to talk about how we're staying connected with one another. And so where we were just overall. If there are other questions, you can pop those. No other questions. But however, if there are questions that you want to talk one-on-one, call me, call Deb, call Sean. Sean is the one who's really in charge of all of the do good work, the mission, the outreach, that kind of thing. Call Pastor Katrina if it was regards to children, how we're connecting with one another in studies and Zoom groups and connect groups. Deb is really, we have divided and tried to conquer in this way. Deb is really in charge of the generosity, the finances, the buildings aspects, trustees, what we would call trustees. And so I've been in charge of trying to oversee worship, how we were going to worship, how we were going to do that in ways that was dynamic and creative, and to be able to offer this in every way we possibly can. It always, when I get discouraged, let me just say this, when I get discouraged, I think back to that first Sunday that I found out that we were going to be on lockdown. And we had never done a video worship before. And I think how far we have come. And in just a short amount of time, and that is because of the talented staff and pastors that we have at Salem. All I did was say, guys, we have to make this work, and they made it work. It's not because of Terri. I will tell you, she is technically challenged. So it was because of all of the staff and the pastors who really put effort into making sure that this was going to happen. So thank you, pastors. Thank you, staff. So if that is everything, and I don't see that I have any more questions, I would like to close us in prayer. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you and if this was helpful, we will do this again. I think that this is a good way for us to kind of stay connected to the congregation. And if this is helpful, we will absolutely do this again. So I would like to close this in prayer. Gracious God, thank you for those that you have gathered tonight on Zoom, for those that you have gathered through the gift of your technology. Help us to be your church. Help us to continue to do good in the world around us, our community, to reach out to those who need hope and peace and encouragement. Help us as a church be your hands and feet right now, God, for such a time as this. We hear your call. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, church. Thank you.